Are you ready to stop the self-sabotage and create the life you desire? Well, in order for that to happen, you need to break free from the bad beliefs that are holding your success hostage. You need to optimize the stress by turning it into extra energy for success. And those hurtful habits? Well, we need to give that pain a purpose for progress. Welcome to Stop the Self-Sabotage and Create the Life You Desire podcast. Do we even know what day it is anymore? I recently saw where someone had shared that all days of the week would be replaced with yesterday, today, and tomorrow because they're all kind of blending in together. And that's one of the challenges that we can face right now. That's what can put pressure on us, is because we don't have a way to designate the beginning and the end of what we're experiencing. Our very powerful mind likes to categorize things. It likes to put them in segments and say, okay, well, here's how we start, and then this is the middle piece, and now we've got the end. But right now, we just have it to where it continues to go on, and we're not quite sure when this is going to complete. And by the way, for the person who said at the beginning of this year, wow, 2019 was really freaked up. How much worse can 2020 be? If we find you, things are not looking good for you right now. So what is it that we need to be able to do during these times to where when we come out the other side, we're actually fitter, we actually have better relationships, our income is actually increased, our opportunities for whether it's our career or our friendships or the things that we can use to be our very best, all of that has increased. What is it that we need to be able to go through for all of that to happen? That's what I want to share with you today. And by the way, I'm not a stranger to this type of what seems like unrelenting pressure, nervousness, excessive stress. Some people call it anxiety. I'm not supposed to use that term because that is a diagnosis code that says that you need to be on drugs. Instead, I show people how to master their focus, their feelings, and their actions to bring themselves out at their very best. I do that as a certified hypnotist as well as a certification instructor. But I have experienced this firsthand through a medical diagnosis called carotid body tumors. It was over 20 years ago that I received that diagnosis. In my family, it's genetic, passed from a father to children only, so I didn't have to worry about passing it on to my kids. But what I experienced was tumors that wrap around the carotid arteries, eventually shutting off blood flow to the brain. Yeah, sounds real exciting, right? But here's the challenge. The tumors, in order to grow, have to have certain chemicals that the body produces. Adrenaline, cortisol, and to be able to do that, they learn how to turn on the adrenals 24/7. So for the first few decades in life, I didn't know why I was experiencing what could be considered outrageous anxiety, waking up in the morning and taking a breath like, oh, what's going to happen today? Because I was already on edge. And yet, at the same time, experiencing overwhelming exhaustion because this was turned on through the condition I had all the time. And the older I got, the more the symptoms increased. Now, whenever I received the diagnosis, then it was, okay, what do I want to do about this? And I started doing some discovery, and I found a well-known teaching hospital that was teaching self-hypnosis to their clients, to their patients, for a similar condition. I've followed the protocol and experienced what's known as emotional optimization. Emotional optimization says that it's not the conditions that are going to determine how you feel. It's the focus and the meaning that you give to those conditions, and then the actions you take based on that meaning. So I experienced that emotional optimization. And because I was able to use the very condition that had made me sick for so many years, because I was actually able to use it in a way that was beneficial, I experienced what would be considered a remission in my symptoms. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, hypnosis is not a cure. Instead, it is a tool to be used to bring you out at your very best. So in the same way, I was able to experience great results, which led to me becoming certified and now being here 2 decades later, sharing this same information with you. In the same way I was able to do it, you can begin the steps to do this for yourself. So the key that turns pressure into power is that you have to be able to channel and utilize the emotions that you're in, because the situations are not going to go away. The conditions that are triggering you and firing off whatever it is that you're experiencing inside that you feel like is holding you back, that's not going to change. It's how you use it instead of it using you. So let's see if I can get this to work. All right. And I advanced. Yes, I did it. Okay, I am actually going to make this a little bit bigger for you to be able to see. Emotional optimization. This is actually based off the work that 2 Harvard psychologists started, and I've been able to add on to it with what I know how the brain-body connection works. By the way, if you have any questions, if you've joined me live or maybe you're catching the replay, give me a comment. Let me know what it is that you're needing additional information on, and I'll do my best to be able to then give you customization on how to use this for you in your unique situation and circumstances. Okay. So we've got 4 categories of how the brain will utilize emotion. Now, we're going to start with fear. Fear can be stress. It can be where you're feeling exhaustion. You're resentful. It can be anything that you feel like is overwhelming you. What most people want to experience whenever they go into that is relaxation, calm, at ease, being peaceful. And I know a lot of people will use different mind techniques like meditation to be able to do that. And while that's phenomenal for the renewal side, that energy is still present, and it is going to have to be used, or it will use you and it will wear you out. The first thing it'll take out is your immune system. And during these times, that's the last thing that you want to have affected, but yet it's the first thing. After that, you'll begin to see chronic conditions show up with maybe the stomach or the intestines, or it could be blood pressure, because this energy is not going to go away. So meditation is phenomenal for quieting the mind, but it doesn't do anything to assist you with using the energy that's built up in the system. Now, once you have relaxed it, well, then you can go into the assertive area where most of us like to hang out, which is what I like to call being in control. But again, if you're coming from the relaxed side, you're only going to be able to maintain it for a little bit, and then those emotions are going to do what's known as flooding. and they're going to take you over again. So let's move over to the other side, which is excitement. You feel like you're being challenged, and we do crave that. We want it to where we're being asked to bring ourselves out at our very best. So being challenged, enthusiasm comes from being challenged, where we have to discover new things about ourselves and just what it is that we can use our focus on, how we can then choose the meaning behind those emotions and then implement minus overwhelm. This is joy. By the way, happiness comes from solving problems. So whenever you solve a problem and then you're complete with it, the mind will look for another problem to solve in order to be happy. But joy, we're wired for it. It's genetically programmed into us. And that comes from when we're bringing ourselves out at our very best. Okay. So we actually can have two choices whenever we're experiencing the overwhelm. We can either relax it away, or we can challenge or channel it into excitement on being challenged. And then from there, we can move it over into being very assertive, because the mind is looking for, number one, what are you going to focus on? Number two, what meaning are you going to attach to that focus? And number three, what actions are you going to take based on all of that? And that's where we're having problems right now. What are people focusing on? It's been taken away from them. So the mind will always take the path of least resistance. What's the path of least resistance? Let's focus on binging, whether it might be on food. Let's talk about food for a moment. So you binge on food. First, you start with comfort food, those pastas and breads, because that gives you a relaxed, calming feeling. But that's only going to last for about 90 minutes. And then the overwhelm, the stress, the pressure is going to show back up. And so then you can binge on more. Now, what can happen is when you binge on those comfort foods, you can feel too relaxed and too sleepy. So what are you going to do? Well, then you're going to turn to the sugars. You're going to turn to the caffeine to pump you up, instead of being able to move up into that excitement of being challenged in a very healthy way. Okay. How else do we binge? Oh, TV, because the mind is looking to be challenged, but you binge watch those shows one after another after another. The mind is learning to be challenged based on the problems of others. Remember how I said that solving problems, or you can design a life. Well, you're binge watching TV. You're learning to solve problem one after another, but they're not your problems. They belong to someone else. And it only takes 72 hours of these types of behaviors of binging before you can let go of being healthy. 72 hours for the mind to begin to process a new way of being. Now, there's a positive to that, what I call the progress mindset, which says it takes 72 hours to let go of something that's been holding you back. But it also only takes 72 hours to let go of something that you were doing that was very healthy for you. So let me show you the exact process that the mind will go through whenever you're going into being unhealthy. And let's see if I got that to switch again. Yes. Okay. Very first thing that's going to show up is doubt. Takes 72 hours to go through this process. Doubt, where you begin to question on how things are going to work out. Is it going to be okay for you? See, anytime we experience an emotion, a feeling, we ask three questions. Number one, what does this mean? Number two, what does this mean about me? Number three, how do I avoid or amplify? Avoid is what causes pain. Amplification is what brings you pleasure. People who know how to turn themselves on at their very best and use challenges to bring out themselves at their healthiest, well, those are people who understand it's not the circumstances or conditions, it's how they've attached them. What does it mean about me? And how do I use this? How do I amplify it? Because right now, the overwhelm and being triggered and being flooded isn't going to go away. So you can either be emotionally flooded or you can use that flood to raise you up. But the first thing you're going to do is doubt that there's any benefit or that you can do this. And then from there, you begin to worry. What if things don't get better? And this is when the itty bitty shitty committee shows up with their what ifs. From there, you begin to procrastinate. Now, procrastination can show up in a lot of ways. It can be, instead of channeling that energy that I was showing you just a moment ago into maybe exercise or reaching out to others, instead you do something like go clean out your kitchen junk drawer. Hey, I know that now's a great time because you've got the extra time, but you should be doing that after you've handled your high value actions. We'll talk about that in a moment. Then obstacles are going to show up. You're going to come up with all the reasons why you should not or cannot do something. And now you're into full blown avoidance where you're binging. You're binging on food. You're binging on social media. You're finding problems to pick with each other or pointing your finger at others because you're looking for a little bit of happiness by saying, I'm right and you're wrong. We're seeing this a lot with people when they're pointing at maybe different government officials or coming up with conspiracy theories. They're doing it because they're looking for a way to optimize these emotions to feel better, even if it's only for a little bit, by saying they're wrong and I'm right. And this is never going to reveal themselves at their very best. You have to pick the high value activities. That's the decision. That's the focus. That's taking the action. That's looking for the opportunities. And that's being able to adapt no matter what shows up. Okay. Now, how can you do all of this? Well, I'm going to give you 4 simple steps. Number 1, start off with your day. What is your high value activity for that day? What is something that is going to bring you out at your best? It's going to challenge you. It's going to use that energy that is being built up from this pressure. What are you going to then focus on? What are you going to make those emotions mean when they show up? Are they going to trigger you to go back to those same old actions of avoidance? Or are you going to put yourself out there? And how are you going to follow through with the implementation, holding yourself to a guideline that says, I'm not going to engage in anything else today as a reward until I've completed the activity? What's going to hold you back? Those previous 6 steps that I showed you. So what is it that I can do to begin to assist you, making sure that you stay focused? Well, Dreams into Reality. Dreams into Reality is a program where I am going to give you the course on how to be able to do this for yourself, but then be there to assist you in actually being able to move from being overwhelmed into those opportunities and make sure that you stay true to the program that you're setting up for yourself. I want to make this very doable for you. So if you go to drudonferguson.com/DIR, stands for Dreams into Reality, and you scroll down, you're going to see that the membership is $67 per month. But I want to highlight something that I'm doing right now. Click on that and you're going to see where it says your first 60 days are at that amount. It's a month-to-month membership, but you're basically getting 1 month at no charge. Every month there is going to be a different focus. Right now, it is from goal setting into goal getting, where I want you to be able to bring yourself out at your very best. That is going to be up for the next couple of weeks. Then that course comes down and another course will take its place. And then that course will be up for a couple of weeks. And then another course that'll take its place. Because I want you to be, during this time, in continual action. Your dreams are not canceled. In fact, they're not even paused. You can come out of this pressure with experiencing progress like you've never had before. But for that to happen, you're going to need guidance, because when the mind isn't sure what to do, it will, number one, look to authority figures, and number two, look for a plan. Okay? I want to do what's known as transfer of authority, where I don't want to be the authority figure in your life. I want the higher part of you, your higher self. Some call it self-actualization. I want that to be in control and in charge. And that's what I want to show you how to do by giving you the process and system to make that happen. Okay. So, drewdawnferguson.com/DIR. Remember, you have a unique brilliance about you. It's everything that you've learned based on the experiences you've been through in your past. It's how you light up the world. And right now, the world's a pretty dark place. So it is time for you to discover how to turn your light on even brighter, using more of who you really are. And by doing that, you can ignite the light of others, as well as being able to build a better world for yourself. Thank you, and I look forward to assisting you on this journey. Remember, success, that's not the journey. The destination is revealing who you really are.